Most electricians understand this code, but they will still get it wrong on their licensing exam, and I'm here to explain why. In Article 210.52a, it talks about installing duplex receptacles. Basically, in most rooms in a dwelling, they need to be installed with the following. So 1 says spacing. Receptacles shall be installed such that no point measured horizontally along the floor line of any wall space is more than 6 feet from a receptacle outlet. There are some electricians that will see this and say, okay, I need to install my receptacles every 6 feet. First off, that's not what this says, okay? It's not a code violation, but that's not what this says, okay? So let's call this my wall space, okay? Any point along the floor line of that wall space must be within 6 feet of a receptacle. So I can install a receptacle 6 feet in this direction, and this point is code compliant, right? I can also go 6 feet in this direction and install a receptacle, and every point in between these two receptacles are code compliant, okay? So the maximum distance between receptacles is 12 feet. So that's why we call this rule the 6-foot, 12-foot rule, okay? So moving on, 2 says wall space, okay? Hopefully you can see it. It says, as used in this section, a wall space shall include the following. Any space 2 feet or more in width, okay? If it's less than 2 feet, it's not a wall space. I don't need to install a duplex or any receptacle outlet there, okay? So a wall space is any space 2 feet or more in width, including space measured around corners, okay? A corner does not break up a wall space, okay? You have to include it in that wall space, okay? Any space 2 feet or more in width and unbroken along the floor line. What can break it up? Doorways, similar openings, fireplaces, stationary appliances, and fixed cabinets, okay? So this is my wall space. If I have a door that breaks it up, okay, my 6-foot, 12-foot rule will only apply to this wall space, including spaces around corners. So 6 feet from here, okay, I'm installing a receptacle, then 12 feet, installing a receptacle, then 12 feet, installing a receptacle, and as long as this does not exceed 6 feet, this wall space is code compliant. Now my 6-foot, 12-foot rule needs to restart after this break in the wall space, and I'm going to do 6-foot, 12-foot here, okay? Hopefully that makes sense. Now, let's continue. The space occupied by fixed panels in walls, excluding sliding panels, okay? So this is talking about like a sliding glass door. The stationary glass counts as a wall space, okay? You can't install a receptacle outlet on it, right? It's glass, but it still counts as a wall space. So we need to account for that in our 6-foot, 12-foot, okay? The sliding portion does not count as a wall space, okay? And then the last point that talks about wall spaces, the space afforded by fixed room dividers, such as freestanding bar type counters or railings. I actually have this in my house. Maybe I should take a picture and just put it on the screen here. But railings count as wall space. Can you install a duplex receptacle there? No, you can't, but we have to include it in our 6-foot, 12-foot rule, okay? So what happens if you have a railing that is longer than 6 feet, okay? You need a receptacle installed there, right? So that's where we can install floor receptacles. Receptacle outlets in or on floors shall not be counted as a part of the required number of receptacle outlets unless it's located within 18 inches of that wall or railing in this case, right? So all of these are important when it comes to your 6-foot, 12-foot rule because, again, on your licensing exam, they're going to give you a picture. At least one question will be a picture of a room and say, what is the minimum number of receptacles required? Again, most electricians have a somewhat of an understanding of this rule, and they might say, whatever, let's say the minimum number is 5 based on code standards, but they'll say 6, 7, 8, and then they'll argue with me saying, no, that's the right answer. It is a right answer, meaning that it's code compliant, but the licensing exam will always ask you what's the minimum number of receptacles required for this room. So you have to understand every single rule in its entirety, and I think the best way to do that is, number 1, read the code, but number 2, do an example question. So stay tuned. I'm going to put an example question on my board, and I'm going to walk you through the different scenarios that you very well might see on your licensing exam to make sure that you not only understand how to be code compliant, but calculate the minimum number of receptacles required for a room.